Welcome everyone to the Roundtable. This is an opportunity for our speakers to just give a very short summary of the things they've heard and the important themes and topics that have emerged over the last few hours. We appreciate that you've been online with us for quite a little while, so we won't make it too long, but we really want to hear kind of what these experts in their fields feel has been most important from the conversation so far. So I'm going to go down the route of the people that I see on screen. It's nothing to do with any preference. I'm just going with who's literally on my screen first. So Adrian, if you can kick us off, that'd be fantastic.
All right, sure, will do, Sander. So most important and most interesting to me was actually the discussion of that evolves around the transition to more sustainable transport. And I think in the breakout rooms we had some super interesting talks, and the changing roles of the stakeholders in this environment was the most interesting part to me, because it touches the energy landscape, it touches organization, public organs, and the role of the consumer or the person seeking mobility itself. That was a most interesting part for me. So thank you for having me. It was super interesting to participate.
Amazing. Thank you, Adrian. I'm going to go on to Daniel next. You're next in line.
Yes, I think we have a very interesting discussion. I think we were tackling the society and then the impact of society. I think all the three speakers, we agree that there's a way to transform cities into more livable urban spaces, and there's a way to do it. But I think we also agree that if the cities and public and private administration don't follow this, or the governments don't follow a real way of digitalization, of adapting to more sustainable mobility, I think we will have more bans in cities, because I think pollution and externalities of the transport are too high. And yeah, it was a really interesting discussion. I think I have some takeaways from my side, and I'm very happy to participate here.
Great. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate that. And I'm going to hand over to Julia for a minute or two. And Julia, I appreciate your connection went off there for a moment. So if we lose you, I'll come back to you at the end. But please take it away, Julia.
Sure, and I hope it will hold for just 1 minute. Well, for me, it was really interesting to see that we were I was supposed to speak about environment, but we were constantly coming back to the technology and to society and how it is all interconnected somehow. And I really love this. But maybe what I wanted to stress, and I didn't have the chance just now, but I like a number in the chat just threw me off. There was Charlotte. She said that she has 10 different mobility apps. And I want to stress this because this shows how mobility is just so versatile for each and everyone. And there's different, options and different preferences for everyone. So I really love that we could, talk about this today and show that mobility can be just from A to B and from A to Z, and just all the different types of mobility.
Amazing. Thank you, Julia. That's great to hear. I'm going to go on to Stefan next.
Yeah, I also enjoyed the conversations this morning, and it was great. From the name, from the theme of the future of mobility, I think we were, some of the discussions were a bit car focused. And they were, at least in the breakout sessions, there were then also questions on rail or hyperloop and flying cars, eVTOLs. I want to add that the electric buses are also going to come very quickly and will be important from a sustainability perspective. Autonomous lightweight pods are going to be a thing, and so there's more. Micromobility also. But it has also been clear that technology is not all, and the user behavior is going to be key. So how are people going to embrace those alternatives to the car? And how do we get the cars more better used, the cars that will be around, and they will always be around, but we need to make sure they're used in a wise way. And sustainability is going to be an overarching theme and importance. And I think that the bottom line there is that regulation needs to come in to really organize that and create a level playing field. Otherwise, this nice and bright future is not going to happen.
Awesome. Rui, can I ask you next?
Okay. I take four conclusions that I think that some of them reinforce what my thought, which is good, that we are not so disaligned with the rest of the society. But basically, I think everybody agrees that mobility is a hot topic on society right now. It's probably the most hottest topic, or one of the biggest hottest topic on society. I think society is conscious that we need to change the way we move, and that's everyone's responsibility, not just governments, but governments, companies, and the citizenship himself. We need to be conscious. We need to change. We cannot buy cars. We need to find alternative ways and then help this change. I also took that from this meeting that public transport and private public operators and private operators, they need to get along somehow. So shorter or longer, we need to be integrated in order to be sustainable. And a very interesting thing is that mobility reached a disruption point similar to Kodak. I don't know who mentioned that. I think it was Danielle that mentioned that mobility is more or less like when Kodak was analogical and when digital, and it's this kind of disruption. So at the end, when we're talking about sustainability, about mobility, that it needs to be sustainable and it needs to be integrated. I mean, that would be my conclusions for today.
Amazing, thank you, Rui. I mean, I'm intrigued to see which company crashes like Kodak from the mobility sector in the future. Hans, can I hand over to you as well, please?
Yes, I liked very much the session, I have to admit. Means also the interaction and the breakouts. And what I got also confirmed is that we are living quite exciting times here, specifically in these people who are working in the, let's call it the future mobility or the new mobility. I like it even more because, as Rui said, means it matters everybody. And what I got reconfirmed is it's not anymore that certain single industries are running these topics. It's an interconnection of many industries, of many, let's say, companies, and the companies who have not worked together beforehand. Means I think private sector and public sector were somehow in parallel, and now this becomes more integrated. And therefore, the mobility as a service, as we have mentioned several times, is really this kind of overarching, let's say, theme which we have to handle. And as I said, the industry has to work together from the semiconductors, us up to these big companies running such kind of systems. And this is what I like very much to have confirmed this kind of discussion.
Amazing, thank you, Hans, that's great. And last but certainly not least, Leah, can I hand over to you? We have you on mute still, Leah. Think you can hear us. Yes, there we go. Hi. We can't hear you. We can't hear you speaking. I think your cell network, your Wi-Fi is not performing as expected. While Leah sorts out her internet issues, and we'll come back to Leah for her closing remarks as well. Are there any questions any of the speakers would like to ask to each other that they haven't felt have been covered, that they think someone else might have a good kind of opinion on?
We're good.
No questions between. Okay, that's fair. It's good that you've aired out all of your stuff. Then you feel as though you've covered most of the bases. While Leah is getting the internet back online as well, can I open up to anyone in the chat, anyone from the attendees? If you have any further questions you'd like to ask any of the speakers, please direct them directly to the speaker as well to make our lives a little bit easier. So if you do have a question, please raise your hand or put it in the Q&A, and I will pick you up on stage, or I will simply ask the question on your behalf. So while Leah is now able to give us her closing remarks, and then open to any questions via raised hands or Q&A, and I'll pick those up in a moment.
Can you hear me properly?
Yes, loud and clear.
Perfect. Thank you, and sorry for the internet connection. I don't know exactly what happened. And I was saying that I really enjoyed this morning. Thank you very much for counting on Carnet for this event. I really like talking about the future of mobility and especially focusing on sustainability. But I think that we learned that it's not about only one thing. It's a multiple stakeholder issue which has to do with society, so behavior. At the end, we are people. Technology, very important. It came, once and twice and three times and four times. We talked about robots and last mile deliveries. We talked about autonomous driving. We talked about mobility as a service. Technology goes in this direction, and we have to move all together so that these technologies are more sustainable, because it's not about just getting a robot, putting a robot into the city and decreasing emissions. It's about how we build this robot, where does the energy that this robot is using is produced, how is this produced. So all these circular economy issues have a big role in the future of mobility. And we agreed as well at the end that I think that Europe has a big role in these issues, because we are moving towards a greener Europe. And I think that other continents are a little bit behind in these issues. We as society need to move in this direction, so that our society at the end moves more, but moves more in a more sustainable way. So I really enjoyed the discussions, and thank you very much.
Thank you. I love that phrasing. Moves more, but moves more in a sustainable way. It's great. Any final Q&A? Any raised hands from either the speakers or from the group? Otherwise, that's okay.
No, I'd be interested. I would have a question to Laia. What is the evidence? How can we say that Europe is ahead of other continents regarding sustainability and mobility?
Yes, it's not a conclusion. It's a thought that came in mind, but I really do think I've lived in other continents, and I really think that behavior and how people think, it's a main issue. And I think that the new generations in Europe, and I don't want to say names, but there are movements of mass people, of young people that are thinking in these directions. And this comes from very young European citizens that have this in their minds from the very beginning. And this is something that it's coming in other continents, but not at this early stage. It's coming, of course, but it's not at this early stage. And it has nothing to do with technology. It has nothing to do maybe with mobility. It has to do with society. But Europeans are looking in these directions from early stages in life. So, and we are talking about the future, and it's not going to be you. It's not going to be me. It's probably not going to be Chandler. It's going to be new people that are coming. And these Unitech, fresh graduates that are going to change our world in the future. So let's move. But I do think that Europeans are moving fast. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Amazing. So I think we're going to close the roundtable here. I think that we now managed to switch around and be slightly ahead of time, which is obviously fantastic for everyone to feel like the sun is shining outside. I'm going to just say thank you then to all of our speakers and the companies you're from. So thank you to AFRI, to Bus Up, to Rimac Automobile, to Carnet, to MVBW, ABB, the EIT, and of course Infineon Technologies. Thank you to all of our speakers. You've been fantastic. Really, really appreciated all your opinions. We will be sharing a few of the key insights after this session is done as well. So if I can just ask everyone, when I close this speaker roundtable down, to move to the closing session, to just hear a few closing remarks and to hear the next steps. But once again, thank you to our speakers, because that has been fantastic and we really couldn't have done it without you. And thank you to our attendees, but I'm going to ask the attendees to join for sure the closing ceremony in just a short while. So thank you again, and hopefully see you all soon.
Okay, bye-bye to all.
Thank you. Bye.